Hi, I'm Elisa. Welcome to my channel, and today I am getting rid of a ton of books. So I own almost 500 unread books, and that number has just steadily increased over the past few years. I think when I met my fiance, I had 200 some because it was like his pickup line on our Hinge profiles, and I have decluttered over the years, not super aggressively, and I have made a lot of excuses as to why I have as many books as I have. And as you may or may not know, I am in a book buying, not ban, but limit this year. I am trying to heavily limit the amount of books I bring into my collection. I am allowed 3 book of the months and 3 aardvarks each month, which still leads to some almost 100 books. I have allowed myself to pre-order some signed copies of books, just one so far, but there may be more. And this is a huge change from how I have previously purchased books in the past. I recently went to the secondhand bookstore in my town, which before would be a huge trigger for me to just buy at least 5 books. And I walked out of there for probably the first time ever with nothing purchased. And that was a big deal for me, because it's not like I didn't find things. There were a couple things that were on my wish list or things I'd seen before, and that in the past would have been enough for me to buy it. I would have said, oh, I've heard of this. I don't remember what I've heard about it, but I've heard of it and I want it. Book of the months, finding those secondhand was a huge trigger. I would automatically buy them because, you know, they're $5 compared to the book of the month 12 or 18 depending. I have limited a lot what I have purchased as far as books goes this year, which is great. I'm super happy about that. However, I was still not really decluttering and still holding on. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think there was a part of me, because I have been much more discerning in decluttering other aspects of my life. I wanted to do that as well with my books. And I kind of felt like the only way I could do that was by reading them and then deciding whether I wanted to keep them or not. And it's just not realistic that I'm going to get to 500 books when I'm still bringing some into my collection. So I have started not ruthlessly, but more ruthlessly decluttering, and you're about to see some of that. So let's start now. First up, we have The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. I read this recently. This is not an unread one. I read it. I'm good. I do not think I will ever reread this, so there is no point in keeping it. Another super easy one, this is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the special edition aardvark that was released in April. I bought it, obviously, as part of my box, and when it came, the box was, weirdly messed up. Something had, punctured it, and as you can see, we did have a bit of damage. So, and it is so sad that it was on the special edition book, but I'm getting rid of this because Aardvark was kind enough to send me a new one. I just sent them an email with pictures of this, and they immediately sent out a new one. So I'm getting rid of my poor damaged copy. Someone else will love this. I know that. I have already found someone for this book to go to, and that does not bother them, so that's great. And it's not that it bothered me, it's more that I paid for an undamaged book. I want an undamaged book, and now this copy can go to someone else. So next up is a book that I have already finished, and this is You Are Fatally Invited by Andy Pliego. I liked this a lot. I thought it was pretty fun. I think I gave it a 4, and nothing against it. I just am not going to reread it because it's one of those books. I know the twists. It's not one that I'm going to reread and have fun with, so it can go to someone else. Next up, this one is just author. It's Americana. I don't need to own this because I don't want to read it, and I don't want to read more from this author. Next up is one I was gifted. It's In the Woods by Tana French. I think I am pretty certain I have already decluttered my other Tana French novel. I was gifted this by my brother's ex-girlfriend, and every time I look at it, I think of that, and we did not exactly get along, so this is not something I want to pick up, mostly because it just makes me think of her, and I don't know. I have just never really been interested in, I've never also ever been interested in this author, really, so this is just gonna go. Next up, we have romance books, and I have just realized I exclusively listen to romances on audiobooks. I never reach for my physical romance books, and when I do, I find them impossible to get through, so they tend to like put me in a slump and stuff, so that's not good. I am just gonna pass on these and get them from my library on Libby and be happy. So the first one is a Christmas romance, and that is Most Wonderful by Georgia Clark. I believe this is LGBT, which I love. However, I'm not going to read it physically. I just know that. I just know I'm not going to read this physically. Last year I read a Christmas romance mystery and it put me in a reading slump, and I'm not risking that again. Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. I actually have no idea what this is about. I just picked it up because it sounded nice from Book of the Month, and then once I learned a little bit more, I was like, oh, I'm definitely more likely to get through that on audio, so it's gonna go. Then we have all of my Nicholas Sparks. What happens is I gift these to my mom. She gifts them to me now, like after she reads them, and then she doesn't want them back. So this is Dreamland, The Wish, 2x2, and Every Breath. So I have already like put these, tagged them in my Libby app as something I will read later. These are just not books that I'm gonna read physically. I'm not gonna pick them up over other things on my shelf, and I'm way more likely to just listen to the audiobook from the library and be good. I don't think I've ever actually listened to a Nicholas Sparks. I used to read him almost exclusively. Like those were all the books I read. Like in high school, I loved Nicholas Sparks. So it'll be a new experience. And I did read one probably like 2 years ago now. Oh my God, that's crazy. And it was fine. It was just like, this would be better for me as an audiobook. 3 more books that I just think would do better for me on audio. We have Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I have heard amazing things about this. It is not that I don't want to read this. It is that I just think I will have a better time listening to this than I would physically reading it. And I'm not sure why that is, because it's not a romance, but I just have that vibe with it that I'm like, I want to listen to you. I don't want to physically read you. Then we have Love in Color, Mythical Tales from Around the World Retold by Blue Babalola. I really still want to read this. This is not a case of not being interested. It's just yet again love stories that I just think I will have a better time not physically doing it. Similar to Eleanor Oliphant, this is Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. I have heard, yet again, great things. I just don't see myself choosing this physically when I could just listen to it on audiobook. Next up is books that I purchased and have since heard horrible things about. This is Imposter Syndrome by Kathy Wang. I just kind of picked this up because it sounded interesting, it sounded feminist, it sounded cool, and then the Goodreads reviews on this, I was like, oh, no. Also, when I look at this on my shelf, I'm not drawn to it, I'm not excited about it, I kind of feel like it's going to be boring, maybe that's coming from the Goodreads reviews, but it can go. This is another one kind of like that. This is The Lady Waiting by Magdalena Zizak. The reviews on this are just not great, and I don't get excited when I look at it, so passing. This one's a mix, so I think I will have a better time with this on audio, but it also has kind of awful Goodreads reviews. The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic by Brienne Randall. I don't know exactly everybody's problem with this. I have just decided I'm going to pass on it. I don't think I'm going to pick it up physically. I'm much more likely to get the audiobook, burn through it like that, so. This is The House in the Pines by Anna Reyes. I very rarely get rid of horror or thrillers just because I love them and I will give most of them a chance. However, this has really low reviews. And sometimes with horror and thriller, that will make me more intrigued and more willing to read it. However, Kayla from Books and Lala read this like a year ago maybe, and she said if this is on your TBR, you can take it off. And I don't know if I've ever actually heard her say that about a thriller, horror, or any other book. And so when she said it, I was like, okay. And then I still didn't declutter it. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll be different. Maybe I'll be in that 1% that loves it. Girl, probably not. Like, probably not. Like, I don't always agree with the masses on thrillers and horror. Like, I tend not to. But, like, the way that this is reviewed, I was like, oh, never mind. It's fine. And the last, this is the lowest rated book on my TBR. This is The Perishing by Natasha Dion. I think Book of the Month had kind of pitched this as like speculative and weird, and I was like, cool, that sounds great. Reviews on this, guys, is so bad. They're so bad. Like, I think it's like down in like 2 territory. It's crazy. And yet again, it was like a fascination thing where I was like, well, I don't want to declutter. I kind of want to see what everybody's talking about. Why does everybody hate this? And then I still like wasn't gonna pick it up though. So I was always like, oh, I'm gonna film a video where I read the lowest. I'm still not great at filming reading vlogs and challenges, so I am giving myself the grace of decluttering this book and not letting it stay around because I might film a video. I have other books that are poorly rated. I don't need to keep this just for that, so I'm good. Next up are books that I bought on a whim, whether from a subscription box or not. These are books I did not do research into prior to buying and now have no interest in. Starting with The Helsinki Affair by Anna Pitoniak. This is a Book of the Month, obviously, and it's like a spy thriller. And I think the month that this was a Book of the Month, I was not super interested in the other books. So in order to fill my box, I picked some books that I wasn't all that interested in, and this was just one of them. I don't like spy thrillers, really. Like, I'm not drawn to them. Like, I feel like when I do happen to read them, I have a fine time, but I'm not drawn to this at all, and I truly think I only picked it because it was, like, the thriller of the month and was like, oh, okay, great, cool, this is what I get. And I'm like, that's such a dumb reason to waste money. Same story here, Wilder Women by Ruth Emmy Lang. I think I just wanted to fill a box, and this was a choice, and I read the synopsis and said, yeah, that's good enough. Yet again, The Attic Child, two children separated by almost a century, bound by a secret, Lola J. I almost kept this. I was like sitting with my fiance when I was decluttering things, and I was reading the synopsis and being like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Basically, it's like, I want to say it's a little boy living in the early 1900s, or it's a little girl. No, it's a little boy. Little boy taken from his homeland. Yes, so he's an unpaid servant. A slave. And then 1974, where a little girl is in the attic that this slave was kept in, and she finds a message from him. And it sounds incredible, but I also know I am not great with historical fiction. I have to be in a very particular mood, and it really has to capture me immediately. I just don't, I'm not drawn at this current time. That does not mean that I may not change my mind later and check this out of the library. I think that is one thing that I love about decluttering books in particular, is if I change my mind, that's fine. I can go to the library. And this is one that if I hear incredible things or I hear somebody raving about it, I can just go check it out. I don't feel like I need it on my shelf at this moment. This is one I had real interest in. It's The Spectacular by Fiona Davis. She's written a couple of things that sound interesting to me, and this is, I believe, is about the Rockettes. And I don't know. I don't really know what else there is. There tends to be kind of like mysteries and things. But there's something about this. And it's weird because sometimes I get really drawn to books. Like, I just see a book and I'm like, no, I feel like I need to own that. And I feel like it was like that with this. And then I bought it, and then I'm like really not drawn to it. Like, I just feel like this, like, ooh, no. And I don't know what that is, but I have that like sense about certain books. And this one, I am just not drawn to at all. And I basically let my fiance pick. I was like, do you think I will like this? And he read it, and he's like, it sounds kind of interesting, but I think you should get rid of it. And I was like, okay. This is another case of wanting to fill a box. This is The Resurrectionist by A. Ray Dunlap. It's an aardvark book. And I think it was just a month where I wasn't super drawn to all of the books. And for some reason, decided I had to have a third book, and it was this one. I think this is on Kindle Unlimited, which, not that that's like a strike against it, I just tend to not love a lot of the books that people rave about on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm not drawn to this at all. So even like looking at it, I'm like, no, it doesn't look like a me book. It just doesn't look like a book that I would like. So I'm good. The next two are whims within a store. So first up, we have Act Like a Lady by Kelty Knight, Becca Tobin, and Jack Vanek. I believe, yeah, the Lady Gang podcast wrote this. I was at Target in 2020. I remember the day I bought this, and I was in the mood to buy books because there wasn't much else going on, so I might as well wander around Target and buy some books. And I bought this and then never touched it. It's nonfiction, which I'm also more likely to read on audio. And I just don't have interest in this. I don't listen to the Lady Gang podcast. I'm not exactly sure what drew me to buy this and keep it for so long, but it's going now. And finally, in this stack is The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin. I saw this so many times as a bargain book at Books A Million, and I love the bargain book section of Books A Million. I used to get a lot of books there. I don't go there anymore because it's dangerous for my no buy or my low buy. So I saw this so many times, and I was always drawn to it. And I would read the synopsis every time, and I go, no, it doesn't sound like a me book. But I was so drawn to it every single time. So I think one time I went in there and I decided, well, I don't have many other picks, so I'm gonna pick up this book. I mean, it was probably like $5, I don't even know. But yeah, it's historical fiction, kind of magical. Pass. This last stack of books I am going to call Book of the Months I found in my secondhand bookstore and decided I needed to have because they were there. Age of Vice by Deepti Kapoor. It's giant. I know it takes place in New Delhi because that's what it says. I saw it. It was a book of the month. It was $5. I said I must have it. I was not drawn to this as a book of the month. I remember when this was a book of the month. I was not drawn to it. I was drawn to it in the bookstore though. Gotta go. Book of Night by Holly Black. This is kind of a two-sided coin. I wasn't drawn to it enough to make it a book of the month. I picked other books. I love Holly Black as far as like Spiderwick and a couple other books that I've read from her. I have a lot of childhood nostalgia. So I think when I saw this in the secondhand bookstore, I was like, okay, it's fantasy. That's not my thing to begin with. And it also has really low reviews. Still bought it though because it was cheap. Have never been drawn to pick it up. So I believe someone in my town is a book of the month reader, but they specifically like historical fiction, and I am not a historical fiction girly most of the time. I still own some, I'm not gonna lie, and I still will read it occasionally, but it is not my first choice. And yeah, I just like have picked up all of their historical fiction leftovers because I guess they read it, they take it to the bookstore, and then I would come in behind them and buy them. This is Peach Blossom Spring by Melissa Fu, and it's just not my thing. Like, 1938 China, and I think I always get it in my head that I'm gonna like it more because it takes place somewhere else, like China or India or anywhere else. I get it in my head that I'm gonna like it more because of that, and I just am never drawn to pick them up because I'm not a historical fiction girly. So, The Far Field by Madhuri Vijay. I don't even know what this is about, and I just think like it's one of those books, a lot of historical fiction is like this for me, where I will read what it's about and I'll say, oh, that sounds interesting, but then I could never tell you by looking at it what it's about. There are thrillers and horror on my shelf that I have not looked at or touched in years, but I could still tell you exactly what they're about. This like historical fiction, it tends to just empty out of my head. So I'm just not drawn to this, and I'm not going to be drawn to pick it up. Send for Me by Lauren Fox also has weird reviews. I remember looking at this and going, oh, okay, I believe it's World War II. I'm really over World War II. I could be wrong there. No, I'm pretty sure it's World War II. Yeah, I'm really over World War II. I've read a lot of that, so pass. Wellness by Nathan Hill. Look at that. And I believe this is about marriage, and I tend to just, I don't want to say I find them boring, but a lot of the time I'm like, I am not at a place where this is what I want to read. So that's such a giant book to feel nothing for. Pass. The Circus Train by Amita Perick, 1938. I want to say they run off to join the circus. I was really drawn to this when it was a book of the month, but not obviously enough to make it my book of the month. But then when I saw it in the bookstore, I was like, oh, hey, you. I'm not going to pick this up. It's also one of those books that I look at and go, I should probably get rid of it. So I'm going to get rid of it. Finally, The Paris Hours by Alex George. Paris, 1927. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it. So those are all the books I'm getting rid of. I still feel the urge. I still look at some of the books on my shelf and go, you should probably go too. So probably round 2 is coming up soon. I just am never going to get through the hundreds of books that I own. I'm aware of that. I still know that by the time I'm done decluttering, I'm still going to own way more than I can read. I'm okay with that. I'm aware of that. I'm just going to make the problem a little less dire. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know. Are you decluttering? How's it going? I would love to know about that. But thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff. And I will see you guys again really soon. Bye.